Hello there, I'm Nigel Mill, and welcome to my Elden Ring review. So, I have already beaten the game, of course, in my channel. Right now, when I release this review, I would still have not, released all of my videos when I beat Elden Ring. It would be, right now, I think it's episode 10, Godric the Grafted, that I left on. So this is just a very early review. So again, I am not a professional YouTuber, so don't expect some video clips here and there. I mean, I might add... No, I won't add some because I haven't even started, having these things on the, these video clips from my playthrough. So, well, yeah, I'm just going to put a lovely image and then a lot of text on the screen because I have a lot to say about this game. I played this game for 180 hours on my first playthrough, and I've gone through 5 endings. Ranni's ending, Meld the Elden Ring, Fia's ending, Gold Mask ending, and Dung Eater's ending. I have not, at this time, done the Three Fingers ending, the Lord of Chaos ending. I have not done it. So, yeah. I have played this game for a very, very, very long time. I'm glad I finished it, but I have a lot to say about this game. So, again, thank you for watching this review video, and keep in mind that these are my personal opinions. You can take them, you can leave them, or you can draw your own opinions, or you can say, oh, but I like this, and that's fine. But I say I don't like it, and that's fine too, because this is just my opinion to warn you or to inform you of what I thought this game was doing good and what was doing bad. And keep in mind, I have played 180 hours, and because I love the Dark Souls series, the Demon Souls, the Sekiro, the Dark Souls, I already said that. So, this is coming from a fan of FromSoftware games. So, I show Elden Ring tough love. Some of it, some of the critics that I'm going to say they deserve, and they need to change at some point because... anyways, I'm not gonna elaborate on that. But right now, I am going to list 4 categories. Yes, 4 categories that I have right now. The good, the bad, the and the 10 mark. I'm gonna go through them, the things on my notes right here, the things that I liked about the game, that I didn't like about the game, that are weird or strange, or the things that would have made this game a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. So, yes. If you are lazy or want to skip and want to shit on all my hard work of writing these notes, then you are the kind of person who will skip at the end of this video and then get the score that I put on the screen somewhere, and that's your score. If you skip this video, then okay, be on your way. I'm not gonna say fuck you. But I did a lot of notes, and I poured my soul into this. Like I said, I put tough love into my review. A lot of things I liked, but again, a lot of things I didn't like. So, let's get right on it. The first category that I'm going to list is the good. The good thing that this game has done. So, the first thing, beautiful environments, sunsets, sunrises, nighttime, and different weather makes for a very pleasant change in the FromSoft Souls-like games. This is something that I like the change that they did on this game. You know, let's see, in Dark Souls 3 there was a climate change in the world if you, let's say, defeat Lorien, you know, a story boss in this in the game, and then when you go back to the other areas, the sky will be red and with a ring, you know, a circle on the sky which signifies the Dark Soul. So that's cool. That was cool. Like, it changed the environment, but in this game they go above and beyond. They add rain. They add sunrises, sunsets, golden leaf falls on the things that give you a buff, and all that stuff. Mist, snowstorms. I think I saw mist on Liurnia. I think so. I don't remember, but you know, that's a change that I really, really liked. So, next, combat is still top-notch and variable as always. The thing that this game is really, really good at is the combat. I really loved it. It was tight. It was fast-paced. I don't know if it is faster than Dark Souls 3 or the same speed. I think it's the same amount of action that Dark Souls 3 had. You know, the same speed of action. I think so, anyways. Not as fast as Sekiro, or I hear a lot of people say that Bloodborne is a lot faster than Dark Souls 3, but I haven't played Bloodborne, I don't have a PlayStation, but the Elden Ring was pretty nice. It had a nice balance of combat. The other point, the world is huge compared to other Souls-like games, complete with a few underground areas too. So I was very, very extremely surprised that the scope of what this game has. You know, I thought Liurnia was big. I mean, Limgrave was big. And then I went to Caelid, and to be honest, I got a little bit afraid of Caelid because everything there wants to kill me, but that's beside the point. Caelid was pretty big. And then I went to Liurnia, and I say, holy shit, this is a lot of ground to cover. And then I discovered that there's underground areas too, and I say, oh mama. And then when I went to Leyndell, I say, well, nothing can surprise me anymore. And then there was 2 other areas in the Mountaintops of Giants, and then I was like, this game is awesome. In the content that it has. Okay, you know, very, very worth $60 price. Very worth $60. Okay, next. I enjoy the wildlife they added into the game. It makes the world feel more alive and occupied with its own ecosystem, aside from the plethora of enemies, of course. So, in the world, it's inhabited by a lot of enemies, but I appreciate that there's also wildlife here and there. Some of them want to attack you, like the male rolling goats, sheep. I'm gonna call them sheep because I don't know what they are. I don't even know what torrent is. A goat or a horse? I don't even know. So, yeah, you know, the hawks, the eagles, or what you might call them, the little crabs, dragonflies, those annoying bastards. You know, there's a lot of wildlife here and there, and I really appreciate that. Next, this is a major plus. Oh, by the way, did I in my reviews, you know, the more pluses or minuses they have means what is one of the biggest good points and what are the very smallest bad points. I mean, no, biggest bad points. The more minuses it has, the more I didn't like. The more pluses they have, the more I like. So let me just be clear about that. and this is a major plus. So, the introduction of the open world aspect really does add a lot of replayability, exploration, and value to the game. The game length extends for as much as you're willing to explore the lands between. And that's not even counting the New Game Plus system, which I am going through to go through it maybe after this? No, because I need to record Mega Man X after this, maybe. Anyways, on my off time, definitely gonna go to New Game Plus. Anyways, again, the next major minus that I have is, again, combat, exploration, and discovery are the top 3 things that make this game shine the most. I said that before, but this is a simplified version of it. All those 3 elements is what this game is, you know, a 10 out of 10 for. They go hard on it, and every single part of it works, and I love that aspect of the game, of Elden Ring. Next, it's a plus. I completely love Torrent. I love you, Torrent. You're the best. Better than Roach? Hell yeah, dude! You can double jump. Fighting and exploring with Torrent is a neat new addition to combat and exploration. I love fighting and just riding with Torrent in the lands between. Of course, I didn't get to use him very much in these in my last couple of episodes because I was done with the open world exploration. I was just going through Azula, I was going through the Haligtree, I was going to Leyndell, the Ashen Capital, and those areas are, you know, they don't allow Torrent to be there. So I didn't use him in the last few episodes, but trust me, I love Torrent, and I used, fought, and explored with Torrent a whole lot in this game. I love him. Her, it, one of those 3. Okay, next. Stealth mechanics are truly implemented as a real working feature and offers plenty more ways to approach situations from stealth, like in Sekiro. You know, Sekiro doesn't have a lot of combat versatility like Dark Souls has, because Dark Souls have Ashes of War, they have art skills, they have sorceries, they have a whole lot of things that you can use, right? But in Sekiro, while you do have, you know, the prosthetic thing, and while you do have the skills from what was the blade's name? I don't get it. I know the Mortal Blade, but the other Kusimaru? I don't know. I don't know the blade of the weapon that Sekiro uses a lot. And you know, but in Sekiro, the main point of the game was stealth and death blows. While this game doesn't have, you know, death blows and the amount of stealth that Sekiro has, it still implements them. And I gotta say, sometimes stealth is a little bit very forgiving. But even if you backstab someone, their health will go down, yes, but you still have to fight them later anyways. Most of the time, if they're big enemies, then yeah. Just like Sekiro when they have 2 death blow balls or 3 or something like that. So you can stab them from stealth once, but then, you know, you have to fight them later. So that's how it works. Anyways, I like the stealth in this game. But next, game still has a huge selection of armaments. While many of them have the same skills as other armaments, you can replace most of them with Ashes of War to get diversity in combat. many of them have the same skills, like kick, or upward swing, or thrust, or just sweep attack, and that skill of that armament is copied with many other armaments. But you can switch their skills with Ashes of War, which is a very nice addition. But you cannot do that with unique weapons and boss weapons. That's the only downfall. You know, that's the only bad part. You know, while unique weapons and boss weapons do have, well, unique Ashes of War, sometimes they are not good. And you just want to replace them with, you know, the list of Ashes of War that you've gathered throughout the world. Anyways. Next. Bosses are plentiful and pretty challenging to face. I don't know how many bosses I have faced in this series, in the Elden Ring playlist that I have. But it's more than 80. I think it's more than 80. Because I'm counting the open world bosses too, so there's a lot. Next. Jumping is now easier, like in Sekiro. Finally, you have a jumping button on your goddamn Souls games, freaking FromSoftware. I mean, you had a jump button on Sekiro, yes, but now you truly implemented on the Souls-like games. Sure, there was a jumping mechanic in the Souls games, but you needed to move in one direction and then press the same button where you move with, and then sometimes you were going forward, but then you press the button and now you're heading left or right, and it screws up, you know, your jumping, you know, you just fall to your death, or, you know, if God willing, then you go straight to where you were about to jump in. But it was very complicated. So, thank God that there's a jumping button on here. Okay, next. I'm already 20 minutes into this video. Great. Crafting. When you buy the crafting kit, is a nice addition to the game, making the player focus on gathering and hunting for useful materials and make pretty useful items on the fly. You know, making fire bombs or magic bombs or perfumes or arrows when you really need them, stuff like that, right? You can create them on the fly, and then you need to gather the resources which you can use to make even better items once you get the cookbooks and all that stuff. Next. Just like always, I love that the game doesn't hold your hand and tell you with a whole bunch of intrusive messages exactly what to do and have a huge checklist of tasks to complete. It's very refreshing and unique approach to quest and exploration that many other games don't have. Sure, you can get lost sometimes, but you have NPCs, items, clues, the map itself, and sites of grace to point you in the right direction. If you're truly lost in a secret NPC quest, however, well, I have a section of that in the negative side. So, yeah, pretty self-explanatory. So, you know, I've seen a lot of people just shit on this game because the game doesn't hold your hand and tells you exactly letter by letter what to do and where to go, with waypoints and fucking huge amounts of text on your left side of the screen or your right side of the screen. Nah, none of that. This game works a lot better the way it is. Because, you know, once you discover something, it is rewarding. It makes you want to explore by yourself. Like I said on the beginning, on the video, or did I say it on the last episode? One of those two. But I love the exploration. That's all I have to say. Without any hand-holding from FromSoftware. Of course, I'm gonna say that on the negative side. Anyways, next, you can respec now instead of having to build a new character and farm a whole lot of runes again. Of course, this requires a special item to be used, but it's a nice lore-based mechanic, and you get quite a lot of the larval tears, or larval livers, or whatever they're named, for Rennala. So yeah, instead of making a new character like in previous Souls games, now you can respec, which is pretty nice. Something that Cyberpunk does not have. Anyways, enough about shitting on Cyberpunk. Anyways, next. People usually like to be handheld throughout a game, and some games it's good and all, but the setting of this particular game is a lot more rewarding to explore by yourself and gain a huge sense of accomplishment once you accomplish a certain quest or boss fight without being helped. That's the same thing that I said before. Next, power stancing. Double wielding the same type of armament makes a welcome comeback from Dark Souls 2. I love to do the power stance in this game. If you see my videos, all of my videos actually, I always want to go and equip my double greatswords just so I can dish out additional damage. So that is a very welcome change that they brought from Dark Souls 2. I really like it. The only thing that's missing is the hilt parry, but the hilt parry wasn't that great in Dark Souls 2 anyways. I just used Caestus or a parry shield, or I don't know what I used there. But next, graphics are good. It's what you expect from a FromSoft Souls game. Although Demon's Souls remake was more graphically impressive, that game was made by a different developer. Just as they have their own style, so does FromSoft, and it doesn't disappoint. So, if you want to compare those two, that's a false equivalency, because they're both different companies. So, Demon's Souls Remake looks stunning and beautiful, and I watched it on videos, but I haven't played it. Again, I don't have a PlayStation 5, especially a PlayStation 5. Hell no! Those things are rare. Like a freaking albino giraffe or something. I don't know where I'm going with that analogy, but that's what I chose to do. Anyways, yeah. So you shouldn't compare them both because, you know, different companies, different styles, different artworks, different textures, different meshes, all that jazz. The graphics are good, but you know, not that great, but very good. Okay, next. Oh my god, a Souls game with map? I know, right? The addition of the map is wonderful, and you can customize the map with your own markers to take notes of treasures, bosses, and many other things. Love the map, because if you ask me if Dark Souls 3 needs a map, I say no. Because that game is a linear experience. You don't need a map. You know, you don't need it. But in Elden Ring, since it's an open world, you need the map. Because you can, once you go in a direction, you know how to backtrack, and you know what other crevasses of the map you haven't explored, and then you go on an exploration spree, a lot more than Dark Souls, and you know, you need a map to make you know what kinds of sections of the area did you explore and what did you forgot or left. And you can add markers to record your progress, which is very, very nice. Anyways, next. Ashes of War can completely replace an armament skilled attack or defense. it gives a lot more variety and customizability to your armaments. The bad thing being, you can't change a unique / boss's armaments current Ash of War, and that you can't freely change the element of a weapon unless using a specific Ash of War that adds fire, lightning, magic, etc., etc. damage. But some of that is fixed when finding specific whetstones that have an element affinity. Once you get these items, the player can apply some elements over some other Ashes of War that don't necessarily have a specific element on the skill. Although, it still doesn't work with boss / unique armaments. That's pretty self-explanatory, I don't need to expand that anymore. I was very specific with some of these notes. Next, game has minimal bugs. The only ones I found was a skeleton archer switch to an invisible sword when getting close to them, a UI bug that doesn't display the item you've picked up, and a boss I fought fell a short distance and it suicided itself. I don't remember the number of the episode, but it was in Liurnia when I was just rounding up bosses and all that stuff. Before going to Raya Lucaria, I think that's when it happened. Anyways, next. The infinite stamina while exploring is pretty neat. And if you attack from stealth, you get a free shot without expending stamina, because outside of combat, stamina does not deplete. That's pretty nice. In the past, stamina was a constant depletion. But now that there's a lot of ground to explore in the world of Elden Ring, then it was a nice change that they did. Of course, when you enter combat, that's when, it starts to decrease. Next, the lock-on distance has been greatly extended, making sorcerers shoot their magic's attacks for longer distances without getting too close to the enemy. Same with archers. Instead of aiming with a ranged armament, you can quick shot easier over long distances. Pretty self-explanatory. Next, I like the mechanic where you need to find, buy, defeat bosses, and complete NPC quests to get talisman pouches or memory necklaces to expand your talisman slots or spell slots. So in the past, in the let's take example a Dark Souls game. You got, in Dark Souls 2, you had an automatic 2 rings to equip, which is the equivalent of a talisman in Elden Ring, right? And in Dark Souls 2, I think there was 2 rings also, and in Dark Souls 3 there was 4 rings that you can equip automatically when you start the game. But on a Dark Souls game, your spell slots increase with how intelligent you are, or how much mind FP you have. I don't remember which one was which, but in Elden Ring that changes. You do not get automatic full talismans. You don't. You need to defeat the demigods or complete quests or defeat some enemies to get the talisman pouches, and then you can expand your equipment with more talismans. And the spell slot thing changed because now you need memory slots. The necklace items that you get from towers like Lani's Rise, or the other Rise, or I forgot the names of them. But yeah, that expands your spell slots. It does. You cannot expand it through leveling up mind or intelligence or arcane or faith. That doesn't happen anymore. So I like that. Okay, next. The refill of Crimson and Cerulean Tears when you defeat a group of enemies is pretty nice, although easy. A way to keep exploring for long periods of time in the open world part of the game. Some scarabs refill flasks too if you're fast enough to catch them. And, if you remember, this kind of refill mechanic was implemented in Dark Souls 2, but instead of a specific group of enemies being defeated, it was a random chance to refill once you defeat a certain amount of enemies, and it had a very rare chance of it happening. The inconsistent part is, on castles and areas where there's story bosses, there are no groups to make use of this mechanic. But, as a replacement for that, these kinds of places are full of sites of grace offering many checkpoints. Very self-explanatory. Next, the variety of enemies in this game is great. They are grotesque, cool, colossal, slimy, weird, scary, intimidating, and fearsome. Just to name a few. Just like any Souls-like games should be. Although some animations from enemies are straight imported over from previous Souls games, not necessarily a bad thing, since they add new animations, but for a veteran player like myself, it would make enemies kinda predictable sometimes. Next, combo chain attacking until you do a finisher on light attacks is a pretty cool detail to combat, although the downside is while successful consecutive hits with a combo does increase damage dealt, it has a very, very minimal damage increase. But I felt that it's not the damage that's the bonus per se, more than the poise damage it does instead, making the enemy vulnerable to critical hits or ripostes faster while combo chaining. So, when you do the light attacks, there's a finisher, but the damage, since it's very low, the poise damage increases. You know, making the enemy stumble to the ground, and then you can just stab him with a sword. You know, doing that combo finisher makes them do that faster. And, you know, it gives you an opportunity to add a little bit more attacks here and there, and then riposte them and for a critical hit. That's pretty nice. You know, the combo chaining. And the last point I will make on the good category is the summoning of ashes are pretty dang neat, especially for a solo player. You can pick and choose one ash to summon per summon area, and they could range from cannon fodders to long-range hitters to legendary summons that cost a whole bunch of FP. And if that wasn't enough, you can upgrade them through Roderica to make them perform better in a fight. The bad part of this is that you cannot summon them anywhere you want, and sometimes when you go outside the summon area, they start to disappear. And another thing that I forgot to add on my notes right now, but sometimes the ashes of the summoning ashes are a little bit too overpowered, especially Tish, the Mimic, those two. Yeah, those two are tanks, and they chip a lot of health away from bosses even, because on my last episode, you know, episode 58, I think, the ending, you know, the ending of my first playthrough, you know, Hora Lu, the second last boss, died extremely easily, not because of me, but because of my ash that I summoned, Tish, which whittled a lot of his health away. The same happened with Radagon. Tish wiped the floor with him the first try, and then on my second try when I, died and faced Radahn again. But I didn't die with Radahn once. No, don't. You gotta see my last episode to see that I did not die with Radagon. That guy was pretty easy. But I died with the Elden Beast at the end once. So, the last boss, I faced him twice. On my second try, I completed the game. But, yeah, those two Ashes of War are kinda a little bit too OP. They do a whole lot of damage. I personally would prefer them having more health, but less damage. That's, the balancing thing that I have in mind right now, that it would be nice to do. Okay, now I'm done with the good. Since I love this game, but I hate this game at the same time because of some things that I'm about to say in the bad section, then I have a lot to say in the bad section. So I hope that you will pull through with me, because I have a lot to say. And maybe some of you will be, forewarned of my own opinions from the bad stuff about this game. So, the first bad point that I have on my list is a major minus. And it is pretty self-explanatory. So, disappointing endings. There's 6 endings to my knowledge, and only 2 of them are different. The rest are vague variations of the same exact ending. The 2 that I think are different, because at this moment of doing this review, I've not gone through the Lord of Chaos ending, but I bet it's different. 1 is the Lord of Chaos ending with the madness of the 3 fingers, and the Age of Stars ending, which is Ranni's ending. The other 4 are lazy variations of the same ending, only a few different lines of dialogue and a different background. That's it. They are Mending of the Elden Ring, which is the normal ending, the Gold Mask ending, Fia ending, and the Dung Eater's ending. All 4 of them are lazy and extremely similar to one another. But the thing that all of the endings have in common is that they are all vague, short, and don't elaborate on what the fuck just happened to the world after the character becomes an Elden Lord. Sure, you can use your imagination or dig for some lore, but the game needs to elaborate a lot more than what they did with the endings. Let's take this for example. Dark Souls 3. Since, they say that Elden Ring is the successor to the Dark Souls franchise, then let's put Dark Souls 3 as an example. There is, if I remember right, Linking of the Fire ending, which had a different cutscene. There was the Firekeeper ending, the good ending, and then the Firekeeper bad ending, which both of them are different. The Firekeeper good ending... No, let's go back. The Linking of the Fire. The first one, right? It's the same cycle that you've gone through in Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 1. Link the fire, become Lord of Cinder, restart the world again. But in Dark Souls 3, I think the fire doesn't restart anymore because it already has restarted thousands of times, and it's the first flame is tired. It's fading. So that's the normal ending. The good Firekeeper ending, which makes which makes the Firekeeper hold the first flame in her hands and makes it fade, with one day hoping that tiny flames somewhere far in the future will restart the whole world again, like in Dark Souls 1 when Gwyn, began the Age of Fire. A whole new fire that comes from the void of darkness. And then there's the Firekeeper bad ending, which is you, being a selfish asshole, murders the Firekeeper and takes the first flame for themselves. And the fourth ending of Dark Souls 3 was the Lord of Hollow ending. You need to do a whole lot of things before getting that ending, but the end of the short version of the ending is that you take the first flame for yourself, but don't restart the world. You just make it go into an age of darkness, the age of hollows. So nothing changes, but you become a Lord of Hollow. So there's that. All of those 4 endings are different. They have different cinematics, they have different dialogue, they have different camera angles, but in Elden Ring, 4 of those same endings are the same lazy replicas of the other endings that they've made in this game. Just a different background and a few different dialogue voices, and that's it. 4 of them are the same. The one with Rani, I got a little bit disappointed, but at least that one was a lot more different than the other 4. So I like that one better, the Rani's ending. But the same thing happens with all the endings. They are vague. They don't tell you what the fuck is going on. You just leave it to your imagination. And that's it. And it doesn't help the fact that they are so short. I had the same problem with the Dark Souls endings too. Like, why is it so short and why don't you elaborate? I've played this game many hours. 180 or so hours. So, why, throughout all of that hardship of mine, do I get a short cutscene? Especially Elden Ring, since this is the longest that I've been on a playthrough of a Souls-like game. On my first playthrough, finishing it. I finished Dark Souls 3 in, I don't know, like 30 to 50 hours of playtime only, I think, or maybe even less. Dark Souls 2 was like 30 hours of playtime, and Dark Souls 1 was, I think, about the same, like 30 to 35 or something like that. But Elden Ring, this is my first playthrough, and of course I'm taking into account that I'm making videos of these, so my progress, stretches and slows down. My playtime stretches on videos. But 180 hours on my first playthrough, and I only get like 1 minute of cutscene in the ending, which is vague and doesn't elaborate, short, and I don't know what the fuck is going on. For all of my hard work, this is what I get as a reward. That's why I am very disappointed with the endings. That's why this one was a major minus, on my opinion. Next, sometimes there's bad lighting and shadows flicker like crazy at some points, especially on the trees. They twitched like a psycho on crack. Yeah, the shadows on the trees are... If you've played this game, you know what I'm talking about. Of course, I have a 1080, so if you have a 3080, well, fine. You know, fine. But I got that bad lighting. That's the most important part of this whole story, that I had it. I don't care about you 3080s. This is my review, my opinions. So, let's keep going. Another major minus. On PC, it stutters and lags. I even got 12 total crashes in my 180 hours. 12 crashes, and maybe 10 of those, maybe 8 or 9 of those was on camera, on video. That is a major minus. I fucking hated it. Fucking hated it. I always get extremely irritated when that happens in a game. Next, there's input lag, double input, sticky input from the controller. I don't know if it's due to a specific areas in the game that messes up the controls, or it's just the PC optimization flaw. I've had deaths that could have been avoided by jumping, dodging, attacking, etc. But for some bizarre reason it won't let me do them, or it lets me do them twice in a row, or an action I did gets stuck for half a second before responding with a new action. Pretty explanatory. Next is inspired by Lord of the Rings. More like borrowed a lot of the story from it. Sometimes the story doesn't feel like it's an original piece of work. It feels like it's pieced together by many other sources, heavy on Lord of the Rings, as shown on an opening cutscene, with a Side of Dark Souls story also, together with other similar works. Pretty self-explanatory, that's just what I thought. They didn't really think a lot about the story or add a lot of creativity about the story. They always say that they were inspired by by Lord of the Rings, and I see that, but I also see that they took a lot of the story. You know, it seems like they worked on the combat, on the exploration, on the environments, and then at the very ending of the development phase, they're like, oh shit, we still haven't developed a story. Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna borrow from you. At least I'm gonna make some very slight changes to the story and then make it my own. That's what I felt about the story in this game. Anyways, next. While dungeons are like a nice side activity with various types of loot, they seem pretty short and have many of the same layouts between them. So, yep. Next. The names of some NPCs/demigods can get confusing as fuck. They sound similar to one another, often confusing me at some points. Like, for example, Renala, Rani, Rena, Godric, Godfrey, Godwyn, Melina, Melania. Why didn't they just get creative with the names instead of doing 2 to 3 of the same letters at the beginning and then, you know, filling the other letters with, you know, other parts of names. So I got very confused, especially with the God line, you know, Godfrey, Godric, Godwyn, etc., etc., and I got confused because they all sound the same, and then I get confused on which one is who. Did I fight that one before, or did I see about the lore of them before in one of my items, or did I get an item from a talisman from this guy, or was it that guy, or the story gets extremely complicated when you don't add creativity and uniqueness to the names of the NPCs, of the demigods and shit. So that's what I felt. It gets confusing. Next, AI needs to be adjusted a bit on the pathfinding department. I've seen many enemies just fall to their deaths. I've seen many of them fall to their deaths. Anyways, next. In this particular game, you can completely miss the tutorial area, the Cave of Knowledge, that teaches you the essential mechanics of the game. Unlike previous Souls games where the tutorial messages were displayed on the ground and impossible to miss, since they are straight in the way of your linear progress through the first area. So, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, they all had messages on the ground exactly where you need to go. Now, at the first episode, you know, on my prologue episode in this series, I saw the ghost NPC say, "The Cave of Knowledge lies below," and then I looked down. And then I saw a vastness of nothingness. Like, I saw the ground, but the ground was way too far to where I was, and that's knowing that I come from Dark Souls, right? So fall damage is extremely serious in those games. So I thought that, nah, I'm not gonna fall to my deaths this far into the game, you know, this early into the game. I'm not gonna be stupid and die like that. But it just so happens that there was a little alcove that I could fall into and then proceed through the tutorial area where it teaches me these things. Which is to say that I did not go to the Cave of Knowledge at first. I got to the Cave of Knowledge a lot later in my playthrough. So you can miss the tutorial area in this game. So be warned. Look down when they say the Cave of Knowledge. Look down. There is a way to go down there and to start your experience the right way. So, next. Story is once again one of FromSoft's downfalls. If this is the best George and Miyazaki came up with, well, it didn't grab me. But that doesn't mean the story is horrible. It does have some uniqueness and wonder to it. It's just, well, in my opinion, they could have done a lot better. I mean, come on. Not taking the final season of Game of Thrones into account, George could have made an amazing story that impacts the player more, but that's not the problem I have. It was the obvious and, well, not vague like the other Souls games. Would Elden Ring still feel like a Souls game? Would it feel like a FromSoft Souls game? That's a thought that you need to think about. And, as a side note, I'm used to Dark Souls story being good and deep, even though the story is also diluted and in pieces and vague. But it's because there's 3 installments on the thing, making me more and more familiar with it, and starts to make sense once you research the lore of it. But in this game, there's only 1 in the series so far, making it hard to piece the story together. Okay, the next one is a major minus again. Why is co-op so still unnecessarily complicated? If you had a friend to play with, you will want to play with them even outside of the summon areas, like exploring the open world together, discovering areas together, and fight bosses together. It's very disappointing that they still haven't improved the accessibility of co-op to make it easier to keep connected to each other, even in death or after defeating a boss in the area. Instead, if one of those 2 things happen, all of your summoned friends go back to their own world, and if you want to keep playing together, you need to go through the fucked up process of writing a summon sign on the ground, wait for the other players to see the sign, might even take a few restarts of the game to appear, then finally join as the party together, only to be broken apart again and again and again after every death, boss kill, or going out of bounds. It makes co-op hell for the additional fact that you start to get invaded by other assholes trying to ruin your co-op adventure, which brings up the next point. being in co-op means you'll invite PvP onto your game even if you don't want it. Why the hell do these kinds of games not offer dedicated co-op PvE and dedicated PvP setting? Is just bogus. I, for one, don't want to mix the two. If I want to play co-op, I don't want invaders to ruin my experience. If I want to fight other players, then I'll want a dedicated game mode, especially for that, instead of fucking up other people's fun in their own adventures, resetting them to God knows where, making them lose their runes, breaking them up from their co-op, impeding their progress, and adding unnecessary difficulty to an already challenging game. Some people don't mind this, but I do. It is unacceptable how crappy and possibly unfair the online system is. They still have not changed that, I don't know why. But they still haven't changed that major minus on their games. Anyways, next, side quests from NPCs are still as secretive and missable as always. While it's nice to figure it out on your own and gain a sense of accomplishment, like I said, they can be easily missable or easy to fail their quests if you don't have a guide. In my playthrough, I often miss huge amounts of steps for NPCs, quests, and plain old failed a whole slew of quests from the Volcano Manor by doing specific events that were out of order. That means I fought a rate card before completing the Volcano Manor. Okay. Again, if you plan to complete NPC quests, get a guide to help. You really need it. I'm serious. If you have second thoughts, or if you want to complete every single NPC quest that you can, of course, in your first playthrough, you just want to be, on your own, just like me. Discover these NPCs and their quests by yourself, and, if you run into them, good. If you don't, well, you wouldn't even know in the first place. But if you plan to get all of the content that in the game that provides you with, get a guide, because, these quests are still very vague, they are missable, and you can fail them sometimes very, very easily. So, be warned about that. Next, because of the open world aspect of the game, some bosses are placed in difficult terrain, meaning that they can fall to their death or accidentally kill NPCs around the area while fighting the player. Okay, I noticed that second part of what I just said, the NPCs getting killed while fighting the player. I realized that some of the NPCs disappear from the area, but I don't know if that's all of the NPCs disappear from the area, so I gotta research more on that. But the first part is still true. I've seen a lot of boss enemies just fall and suicide themselves. So, yeah. Next, the why of seeking the Elden Ring and becoming an Elden Lord is more vague than linking the fire and become a Lord of Cinder to preserve the world or let the world die out, etc. Meaning, for what purpose should you become an Elden Lord? For the world's prosperity? For power? For prestige? For preserving the world like in a Dark Souls? Aside from completing the game, there's no motivation to become an Elden Lord whatsoever. Throughout the entire playthrough, throughout all of my 180 hours, I had absolutely no motivation whatsoever to become an Elden Lord. Like, they keep telling you, oh, you must become Elden Lord. Oh, the Elden Lord is the greatest goddamn thing ever. Oh, you should become one. Oh, this and that and that and that and Elden Lord, Elden Ring, and blah, blah, blah. They kept saying that, but they never gave me a real reason as to why I should be interested in becoming an Elden Lord. They never give me anything to grab onto. So, yep. Okay, next. Fall damage is inconsistent and hard to calculate, especially on horseback. With Torrent, double jumping at the last second before falling in the ground doesn't save you. It does not make sense that Torrent breaks its momentum while double jumping, but still get the full damage of the fall as if never double jumping in the first place. FromSoft Souls games have this weird fall damage calculation in which the damage stacks up by the time you're falling, not the distance. And sometimes that formula takes the most strange turns, sometimes, and makes the character or Torrent have the fall damage threshold of an egg falling 3 meters from the ground. The fall damage in this game is very inconsistent, especially on Torrent, just like I said. So be warned, be very, very safe. Like, the calculation from surviving the fall and dying from the fall is so minuscule. They are so close together. So be on the safe side is all that I want to say. So, next, while the amount of bosses is pretty vast, most of the bosses themselves are just beefed up versions of uncommon enemies, and sometimes there's even clones of them, but with different names. You know, there's like 80, 70 or something bosses in this game, but they're the same ones, but different names and different locations, and that's it. You know, the demigods are different. All of them are different. You know, the story ones definitely are different, but I'm talking about the open world bosses. Most of them are just the same. Okay, next. The armor tailoring kit is not that great. The only thing you can change from an armor is cape or no cape, along with lowering armor value and their weight and make it an altered version of it. And it costs runes to change them, unless you complete box story and getting these changes for free. Instead, this was the perfect chance to introduce a kind of transmog system to the game, like, let's say, Monster Hunter World. And to make things fair, other people, co-op partners, or invaders can see your true armor pieces instead, so there's no fooling other players with a transmog armor piece. Example: how would you like it if an invader looked like they're wearing Havel's rock armor, which is heavy as fuck, by the way, run at you with full speed with 2 colossal greatswords, and able to roll like they're wearing nothing? You know, being naked. How would you like that image in your game? That's not fair, but with the transmog system, I am saying that the only thing that it changes is with your game. You know, you see your character with the different pieces of armor that you select in the transmog system, but others, aside from you, see the real things that you have equipped, not the transmog system, you know, to make it fair. That's what I mean, in a simplified term. Anyways, next, the Roundtable Hold. I have a lot to say about this one. NPCs disappear from there, and you'll lose the quick convenience of purchasing, talking, or giving scrolls to learn more things until you get their bells when they die, but that's the next problem. When most of the NPCs leave, the Roundtable Hold feels empty and unpopulated, and they never return once they leave. Sure, in other Dark Souls games this happens too. So if you want to keep your home base populated, you must refuse to talk to any of the NPCs, to neglect their quest to keep them alive and safe. But unlike Elden Ring, the amount of useful NPCs that offer special wares are all scattered and separated in a huge vast open world. For example, You have many different merchants just spread all over the damn world, and some are a giant pain in the ass to find again, often burrowing through mobs of enemies before getting to those damn merchants. Instead of giving ashes to expand the shrine handmaiden's wares, like in Dark Souls 3, for example, they decide to add multiple merchants and scatter them everywhere in the world. That's the problem. They're everywhere, and the shrine handmaiden is in one static spot for quick convenience. Or you can be a psychopath and kill all the NPCs to get their bell bearings. You psycho. Also, Bach is in a few specific sites of graces in the open world. Why can't he just go to the Roundtable Hold and stay there for convenience sake instead of going all the way out there? Same happens with E.G., a blacksmith that sells special sunburst stones that no one else sells readily like him. Another example is the guy at War Master Shack, Berthal, I think it was his name. I have to go all the way there and get those ashes of the wars. The point I'm making is they screwed up with the NPCs. They're merging NPCs and merchants into one way too much, offering a quest at the same time as being a merchant or a special character, while moving them around all over the world, making them a bitch to find again, and once you find them enough times, etc., advancing their quest, e.g., they die, drop a bell, and leave the Roundtable Hold even more empty than before. Fuck the Roundtable Hold, it's not homey at all. Most purchasable wares are outside of it until you either complete NPC quests, in which means they die in the end, or outright kill them. Also, you get invaded in your own home. There's a fucking gross, decrepit, giant finger in there that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Seriously. And there is no Firekeeper. Or at least a Firekeeper-like NPC that always welcomes you, levels you up, and if you're like me, build a heartwarming fantasy relationship with them. Firekeeper from Dark Souls 3. Which brings up the next point. Okay. Next minus. Melina is almost never around like a real Firekeeper from past games. Heck, you don't even need Melina at all to level up, aside from the first meeting and accepting her accord. 99.9% of the time you'll just level up through any site of grace instead, making her more of a quest NPC than, well, a Firekeeper that you can always talk to, gesture to, and just find comfort in being near the person that's essential to you since she levels you up. That's also a thing that I didn't get, you know, the gesture mechanic. There are no NPCs that you can gesture to and then they do a kawaii action like twirling around like the Firekeeper from Dark Souls 3 and all that stuff. Okay. Ultimately, making the world feel even more devoid of friendly NPCs. And if that wasn't enough, she also just plain leaves you when you finish with her accord to get her to the base of the Erdtree. And that's the problem. You don't need Melina to level up aside from unlocking the feature, unlike all Firekeeper-like NPCs before Melina, including the Maiden in Black from Demon's Souls, Emerald Herald or Shanalot from Dark Souls 2, the Firekeeper from Dark Souls 3, and Irina of Karim if you complete her quest in Dark Souls 3. Heck! Even Emma from Sekiro is more of a Firekeeper-like figure than Melina. Even though Emma doesn't level you up per se, she allows to improve the healing gourd, at the same time offers a side quest too, having more interaction than Melina. But if FromSoft was aiming for a quest NPC instead of a Firekeeper-like NPC, then Okay. That sucks balls. I'll just go back to Dark Souls 3 and do the toast gesture to my Firekeeper waifu there. I'm just gonna make her spin and be happy there. Not in Elden Ring in Dark Souls 3. But whatever. Whatever. And the last point that I will make in the bed, which is a major minus, is the game turns depressingly sad by the end of the game. Sure, NPCs die in previous Souls games, but in this game it takes it to a whole other level of depressing and sadness. The Roundtable Hold burns and is soon to be destroyed by just following your quest. NPCs keep dying like flies left and right everywhere. They also have additional set arcs at that point, like Hugh refusing to be free even if Roderica asks him, eventually making Hugh lose his mind, lose his memories, and the Finger Maiden losing her purpose, and then shortly after, guess what? Dies. And if you're an unfortunate soul like me, who accidentally got branded by the Three Fingers and automatically made Melina hostile and says her last goodbyes as an enemy, then from then on, the game just keeps getting more difficult to bear with all these events weighing you down emotionally. I got invested in the story, I got invested in the characters and the world, but it goes downhill after you beat Margot, especially if branded by Three Fingers. The game took a very sour turn for me in the end and left a real bad taste in my mouth. You know, the episode where I got branded by the Three Fingers and then made Melina hostile, that was the point where I said, fuck this game, I just want to be finished with it and, you know, start all over again in a new game plus, but do it right this time instead of making everyone my enemy and Melina disappear and having a very sad dialogue about saying goodbye to me, her friend, and then say goodbye to Torrent. You know, the very companion that was with her throughout the beginning of the game, and she gave Torrent to me, and she says goodbye to Torrent like that, like very sad and depressing. And then all these NPCs that keep dying left and right once you complete their quests, they add to the depression and the sadness of the game. And then the Roundtable Hold has its own set of drama with Roderica and Hugh being, you know, depressing and sad because this is the place that they reside in, but Hugh refuses to leave, and so Roderica refuses to leave because Hugh keeps being there, but the problem is Hugh forgets who he is, forgets who I am, forgets who Roderica is, and it's just, he doesn't have any purpose. You know, the NPC that you go to upgrade your fucking weapons and upgrade your equipment, that's the NPC that you're going to, you know, destroy the image of? I mean, come on, FromSoftware. Jeez. Like I said, I'm not expecting anything like fucking Teletubbies or anything like that, like a super happy ending where everything is okay and everyone is alright. No, I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for you to not waste your character's potential in the story, the NPCs. You know, why would I ever feel compelled to be interested in these characters, in these NPCs, if you're just going to destroy them anyways when I'm finished with them? Why? Why do you do that? Instead of making a quest arc that makes them survive and, heck, who knows, go to the Roundtable Hold and stay there. And, you know, patiently waiting for you to be Elden Lord or something like that. But they don't do that. They go through the extremely depressing route, and I don't like it. That's why it's a major major minus. I really, really did not like it. The final stretch of the game after I beat it Margot, I was done with the game. You know, all of my interest with the story, all my interest with the characters, all my interest with the world got taken away from me, just like that. And that's not how you game develop your fucking characters and stories from software. Even though this is a tradition that you've been doing, not all traditions are good. So this is the same exact thing. It is not a good thing to have in a game where you're trying to replicate an RPG element to it, but in the end it goes down only one path. All of them converge on the NPCs and the characters being killed or cursed, or you have to kill them. So it bothers me that I really, really do try to get involved in this world, but by the end of it, you pull the rug right under from me, and you know, it makes me not care. You know, I just want to finish the bosses and then want to finish the game, and that's it, and just move on. You know, this, you know, now that you left a sour taste in my mouth, you know, a bad taste in my mouth, then I am not going to remember the story as a good story at all. I'm not going to remember the NPCs for having good arcs or tragic arcs or anything like that. I won't ever be involved with the NPCs anymore because I know that they all die at the end of their stories. So why the hell should I be invested in the story and the characters is beyond me when they just take them all away from you. So there's nothing. You know, it's a tradition that doesn't work as an RPG element. You know, you spend hours and hours and hours playing this game because RPGs expand for a long period of time on their playthroughs, and this is the result that they give you. That was a major, major, major minus. Oh, man. I have been talking for an hour. An hour and 20 minutes already. Wow, but we're at the end of the review. Don't you worry, there's not a lot left to go. At the beginning I said that there's 4 categories: the good, the bad, the and the 10 mark. I am going to explain the right now. The that's how I categorize it. Okay, so the first is the whole plot about fingers somehow having magical, mystical properties, and some of those finger NPCs being God of the Tarnished or God of Madness is just a strange and weird thing to have as a plot device in the universe. Why fingers? Why? It's just weird. No, the fingers used as magical properties to invade worlds or do that thing, or a god finger, decrepit finger in the Roundtable Hold, or the Madness one, or the fingers that are dried up in the Divine Towers. And why fingers? Why? I don't get it. It's just weird. For me, it's just weird. Okay, the next is, unlike other Souls games, this one doesn't have any consequence to dying, which is a change that makes the game easier. In Demon Souls, your body turns into soul body, therefore reducing half your health and fuck up the world tendency. In Dark Souls 1, you lose your humanity and become hollow. in Dark Souls 2, once you die, you go hollow and reduce your health little by little on each death. On Dark Souls 3, once you get embered and die, you lose your embered state and lose the health bonus from it. And the cool fire effect on the armor, which is pretty cool. On Sekiro, if you die too many times, you can inflict dragon rot onto NPCs and make them unable to talk or trade. But in Elden Ring, there's no such punishment from dying. Other than the obvious, you have to start over again from a checkpoint with respawned enemies, and you lose your runes, and you lose your rune arc. Aside from that, there's really no consequence to death, which is weird. That's why it's on, the category. So let's go to the next one. So FromSoft introduces an open world experience, but my character still can't swim. I mean, I'm not saying I expected anything like the steroided dolphin-esque swimming from Sekiro, but just, normal swimming, but I guess that's out of the table in this game. Which, open world, they introduced, oceans, water, but I still can't swim in deep waters, which is strange. Alright, the next one is, still like the Dark Souls 3 menu song, far better than this game. It does not surpass the legendary menu theme of Dark Souls 3. You need a good menu theme to pump me up, man! Unfortunately, Elden Ring doesn't do it. The menu song from when you open the game and when you see that press any button and continue, new game, settings and whatnots. I don't like it. I mean, it's good. It sounds good, but I don't like it. It's just neutral for me. It's a normal menu thing that does not inspire me to play the game with a motivation of hearing that menu theme. Like from Dark Souls 3. The like that pumps me up. The menu theme from Dark Souls 3 really does. So it does not surpass it. So next one is, did you like my singing? I bet not. I didn't like it either. Okay, next one is, lip sync is getting there, but not quite there yet. On cutscenes, it works. That's it. But perhaps it's all part of this Souls-like feel. Maybe. I mean, in Demon Souls, there was lip sync on the NPCs, but in here, no. Only on the cutscenes, and it's minimal lip sync, even on the cutscenes. So, I mean, it's getting there. It's getting there. Next one is, while there's a great amount of music in the game, from ambient music, fighting music, boss music, menu music, a lot of them didn't make me tingle with excitement or give me any goosebumps. The only soundtracks I liked was when fighting a normal dragon, Fortisak's music, Limgrave's ambient music. It's not that great, but maybe I like it because out of every other ambient soundtrack, the Limgrave ambient music was the one that I liked the most. And lastly, the final battle music with the beast, Elden Beast. It sounds similar to the menu music, but it adds so much more to it. They add various vocals, different instruments like violins, guitars, I think I heard some piano in there too. Ugh. More fucking trumpets to the theme. This one was the only one I loved out of all of them. I don't know, it feels like FromSoft music designers stuck with the trumpet being the main instrument in 90% or so of all their music soundtracks. So predominantly, when I kept hearing trumpets, every time it made me think, well, fuck. Here comes the damn trumpets again. Like, seriously. I'm not saying they didn't add other instruments to give the music more variety. They did. And I'm also not saying that the music is bad in any way. They all have their uniqueness to it. Aside from the goddamn trumpets every single song. But what I'm saying is, there's a very small list of music that I really enjoyed. And only one that I loved. And everything else that I didn't mention, it's okay, in my opinion. Just okay. The only soundtrack I didn't enjoy, just because of some PTSD from Caelid's ambient music. Oh. So many crows, so many dogs, and zombies. They wanna eat me. Anyways, the short point is, for as many music options the game has, most, not all, of them are not memorable at all, in my opinion. Very self-explanatory. Now, next. This is just a niche of mine, but I wanted a dedicated sheath mechanic, since this Souls-like game seems to be more immersive with the addition of an open world aspect. Then I was hoping for this feature to be implemented better, instead of double-handing your fist or your fist-type weapons to sheath your main weapon. You know, like every time I had the Caestus out, I didn't use the Caestus a lot, I just used the Caestus to sheath my Moonlight Greatsword or the other Greatswords. Yeah, that. I like that. Think of it like The Witcher 3, where Geralt sheathes his sword while traveling. Like that, you know, just sheath the silver sword or sheath the steel sword while traveling, or in cutscenes, or in whatever, you know. That would have been amazingly cool. The next one is, why fuck up the Caestus parry, bro? I love that parry timing in Dark Souls 3. I loved a bitch slapping bitch slapping weapons with it. Now I have the non-bitch slapping parry animation with the buckler. Instead of bitch, it's more like so again, I said it before countless times on my playthrough, right? I really loved the parry tool of the Caestus in Dark Souls 3. It was fast, it had a lot of frames to parry your enemy, but in this game there's just one variation of parry, and that's in the Ash of War. There's only one parry of it, and the Caestus parry, once you add the Ash of War to the Caestus parry, so you can, you know, relive your fantasy, your fantasies of Dark Souls 3 again. Well, you're not gonna relive them, because the parry that they give you in the Ash of War is pathetic. It has the least amounts of frames, of course, in the Caestus, the least amounts of frames for the parry to succeed. It is not fast at all. It's not faster than the buckler, which it should be faster than the buckler, because the Caestus doesn't weigh anything. The buckler is like a small shield, so it does weigh more than the Caestus. So it doesn't make sense that the Caestus is slower than the Buckler. I mean... And it has a very pathetic amount of parry frames. Sure, I'm not expecting... You know, like in Dark Souls 3, I'm not expecting the Caestus to have more parry frames than the Buckler. Because that's not fair. The Buckler is a design-specific parry tool. So it makes sense that the Buckler has the most parry frames out of every parry tool, but comparing the Buckler to the Caestus, this is how much parry frames the Buckler has, and this is how much parry frames the Caestus has. Very minuscule and slower than the Buckler. So why did you have to fuck up with the Caestus parry from FromSoftware? Why? I really love that thing. I love bitch-slapping weapons. That's what I love. Okay, next. Just 100 markers? I need more! A lot more. At least 500 would be nice. I kept running out of markers. Again and again and again and again and again and again and again between bonus episodes and stuff like that. And, you know, my real episodes from the playthrough. I kept running out of them. There's just way too much stuff in the open world, and you're just gonna give me 100 of those? That's way too little. Minuscule, pathetic amounts of those. That's why I'm doing, you know, my project, my map project that I'm doing, like screen copying my, you know, game map with all the markers and then putting them in the PNG that I've made for myself and all that stuff with the markers, and so I get to remove the markers and then have my phone being the map. So that's what my project is right now. And the last one of the is no more crystal lizards? I love those guys. There's crystal crabs, but it's not the same. I love those things. You know, they look cute. They look fucking kawaii. And they ran away from me very slithery. So I love them. But they're not here anymore, which is replaced by scarabs, which I don't really like very much. So, yep. Anyways, that is the section of the Now, I'm going through the section of the 10 mark. So, I haven't given my result yet, my score of this game yet. But since there is a 10 mark section in my notes, then that means the game is not a 10 out of 10 game, for me, at least. So, this the 10 mark section is what I think the game needed to truly become a 10 out of 10 game, in my opinion. It's not a long list, but hear me out, right? So, the first thing is, would have gained a whole point if the game was stable and optimized for PC. That means no stuttering, less lag, absolutely no button lag input, and a lot less crashes than what I had, which was 12 in total in my entire playthrough of this game. I crashed 12 times. That made me extremely mad. So, on top of the game not being optimized for PC, having a lot of stuttering, a lot of lag, it also has button input lag, failure button input lag, like an error that makes the game think, no, I did not press that button, psh, nah, but I did press that button. So, it has a button error on the game, and on top of that, it crashes a lot. So, yeah. If they would have fixed all of that, it gains a complete point from me. So, but it did not. So I had to subtract a complete point from, you know, a 10 out of 10 game. Subtract it by 1. But that's not my final score. My final score is not 9 out of 10. It's not 10 out of 10. Wait for my final score, okay? I still have some things to say. The next point is, I mean, not, you know, a complete point, you know, an improvement that would have contributed to make this game a 10 out of 10. So the next one is a more fuller and occupied Roundtable Hold. It feels very empty for its size and not a lot of interactivity in it, since there's no Firekeeper to regularly visit the Roundtable Hold enough to level up, since you can level up on a Site of Grace instead of a Firekeeper. Sure, you'll visit it anyway, since you need to upgrade your armaments or spirit ashes, but the problem is you won't go willy-nilly upgrading stuff left and right because you have limited resources. Somber stones / smithing stones, grave glove wards, etc, etc, etc. Couple the fact that NPCs leave the hold, then die in some other place adds to the emptiness of the hold. It felt so empty. Like, really throughout the whole game, I never had any excitement or motivation to go back to the Roundtable Hold aside from upgrading my armaments. That's it. That's it. Or upgrading my spirit ashes. Didn't do any goddamn thing else there. Nada. Zilch. So, if they would have added more interactivity to the Roundtable Hold, and if they added more traffic to it, like more NPCs, and let NPCs stay there, it would have made a better score out of me. Next one is more of a happy ending for the NPCs that you help along your journey, instead of always getting them killed one way or another. I mean, really, the whole point of helping them is obviously not to let them die, get killed, or be cursed. Instead of making the world a more miserable, depressing place and devoid of friendly characters that you could get attached to, then make an option / quest result that if you do an X amount of things in their quest the right way, they survive and teleport to the round table or stay safe in a safe spot alive outside of the round table. Like how Nefeli stays at Godric's throne room after you completed her quest. That's the best example I could give it. And also Hugh stays there, and the prisoner stays there in the Godric's throne room once you complete their quest, and they stay alive. That's a good example of a good ending, depending on if you did an X amount of things right. That is the only part, the only good example I have with this game. Any other examples, the NPCs, they all lose their minds, they get cursed, you kill them, or they get killed. So yeah. Anyways, next point. Next thing is a more sensible, accessible, and easier way to co-op without involving PvP into it. Meaning, enabling or disabling invaders in your co-op lobby at will to make it a pure co-op experience. And by easier co-op, I mean even if the host dies, you're still connected to the host. Like spectating until the fight is won by your co-op partner. It's one example. You won't be kicked out from the lobby you're playing in and then need to redo the whole co-op summoning process again, and again, and again. You get my point? That was also in the negative part of my review. Okay, next is more NPC conversations in the sites of graces you rest in. Maybe. Like more Melina appearances or other characters that pop in and say hi or offer some hints if you desire. You know, bring more life and communication into the open world aspect of the game. More dialogue to make you feel more involved in the world. I don't know, something like that, since for very long periods of time that I have been exploring the open world, it was just lonely and full of nothing except enemies. Sure, I still had a lot of fun exploring and fighting. Come on, it's a Souls game. But I guess I would have loved it if there was more life and dialogues from characters while you rest at a site of grace, like a cheer or encouragement just before you set out and explore the world some more. Like, I don't know, if you die a total of 20 times, then Melina will try to cheer you up and offer one free level up per playthrough. Or, when you conquer a small dungeon and acquired a legendary spirit ash, Rodrika will pop in while you're resting and offer some lore relating to the spirit ash. Or, when you're resting for too long, like let's say 2 minutes idle, without moving or doing anything, Torrent will pop up and rest beside you, and then the Tarnished pets him. That would be so fucking kawaii. How about when you have miniature Rani in your inventory, she offers a way to save both Iji and Blythe instead of the Tarnished killing a Mad Blythe or letting Iji be assassinated. Or, aside from Bach traveling between places, he is also always on call when resting at a site of grace to alter your armor. These are all just ideas that I have to make the world a more fun-packed place, a more place full of meaning, a more place full of interactivity, more place full with the interesting NPCs that you meet. Well, you'll meet them a lot more, depending if you help them along their quest. I don't know, breathe some more life into this depressing world of Elden Ring. That would have made for a very, 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 very nice change in my opinion. So, yeah, I already said it. I already said all that I had to say. And the last point that I'll make in this review that would have made this game a 10 out of 10 in my opinion is a better story. I wasn't motivated at all to become Elden Lord whatsoever. For what? I always said to myself all the time, for the people I hold dear, most of my friends and comrades are dead. So it's not to make a better world for them. To restore the Golden Order and respark life into this crumbling world? I've played Dark Souls before, I know how this goes. Eventually everything will repeat itself again, and the world will go through the same nightmare again anyways. For power? Doesn't interest me. So, nothing really interests me to become an Elden Lord and reconstruct the Elden Ring. There is absolutely no motivation for me, the player, aside from finishing the game and fight enemies / bosses and explore the world and get some sweet loot. The story was not good. You know, in my opinion, it was just a rip-off of The Lord of the Rings. Just alter it a little bit here and there, and then put a little bit of Dark Souls, and then there you go. You know, there is nothing really interesting about the story for me. Why should I become Elden Lord when you are so goddamn vague about what happens after you become Elden Lord, what is the meaning behind becoming an Elden Lord. The game never tells you, and the game never motivates you, the player, to seek it or to be an Elden Lord. So there is absolutely nothing I like with the story. Nothing. Like I said, the three things that this game does the best is exploration, combat, and discovery. That's it. The story is one of the lowest points in the whole game. So if George and Miyazaki actually thought about the story good enough, a good enough story, not something ripped off of other pieces of work, actually thought about it, then they might have done a very good, compelling, interesting, involving story. But they didn't, because they left the player out of it for the entire game, really. They give you this thing at the beginning of the cutscene, like, oh, you must become the Elden Lord and restore the Elden Ring. That's all that you get. For what purpose? They don't tell you. So, in a consequence to that story being told the way it was told, the player has absolutely no motivation to become Elden Lord or seek the Elden Ring. For whatever reason, there's nothing that they give you to go after it, to seek it. And that's the problem. So, if they did all of that stuff that I just said in the 10 mark, then this game would truly be a 10 out of 10 game for me, in my opinion. But the truth is, in my opinion, this game is not a 10 out of 10 because it has a lot of issues with everything that I said on the bad and everything that I said on the 10 mark. The improvements that would have made this game legendary and a masterpiece. So, my final score for this game is an 8 out of 10. Not a masterpiece, but still very, very good of a game. I'm not just focusing on the bad here, I'm focusing on the good here. Like I said, the exploration, the combat, the discovery, the loot, the weapons, the ashes of war, the sorceries, the incantations, the bosses, the fights, the dungeons, all of it. Torrent, especially. They all come together to make a very, 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 very wonderful experience of a game. A worthy evolution of a Dark Souls game. Because I love the change that they did from linear storytelling. Not that linear storytelling is bad. If a linear story is good, then the game is good. But now that they changed it to the open world, then the parts of it, like the exploration, combat, and all that stuff, it was really, really, really well done. Not the story part of it, but the everything else was very, very good. And also, but I need to take account of the bad things that happens, like the NPCs dying, the story being pathetic, the crashing, the bugs, not the bugs, the stuttering, the button input lag, the crashes, all that stuff I take into account in my review and then give you my honest thoughts of it. So, while this game is not a 10 out of 10 game, I still recommend it to anyone willing to try, a Souls game. If you're a fan, you already know that you need to get Elden Ring because it is worthy of your time. The $60 price for it is very, very, very worth it. For the amount of content that Elden Ring has, you will be satisfied. I guarantee it. Or else my name will be Stephanie Lecrox Jackson the 12th. I'm gonna have to change my name like that later. Anyways, if you're a fan of Dark Souls or the Souls-like genre, this game will interest you. If you are not a fan of this genre, it's still very enjoyable, but do not be naive. Just because it's not in the title, like a Dark Souls title, do not think that this game will be a breeze and easy piece of cake game. Because if you're a casual player, or if you're not a fan of these kinds of games, or if you're not experienced with games in general, and you jump into this game, you're gonna be frustrated because this game is not easy. I made it look easy because I am a veteran player. I have played Souls games before, and I am accustomed to their mechanics. I am accustomed to the enemies trying to hit me. How should I dodge? How should I block? What kind of weapons should I use? And all that stuff. I am accustomed to it, so be warned. Don't be naive. Of course, if you're a new player, a new for the series or from the genre, or want to develop your skills as a gamer by playing this, well, you will have a great time in the game, but at the same time, don't be discouraged by dying again and again and again and again and again and again, because this is just what Dark Souls, the Souls genre does. You will die many times because of your mistakes, or because a boss doing AoE bullshit attacks that span throughout the whole stage, or something like that. But keep in mind, this is what Souls games are. So if you keep going at it, and if you keep trying, you will prevail. You know, you will develop your skills as a gamer, and you will develop your mindset of a Souls genre game, and then that will help you with other installments of Souls-like games, which they are hard, yes, but they offer a lot of content in them. You know, like I just said, discovery, location, maps, castles, combat, torrent, items, Ash of Wars, summoning ashes, so many things that this game provides you with, right? But of course, keep in mind the things that I said on the bad part. Keep that in mind, because maybe by hearing what I had to say about them, maybe this game will, maybe what I said will warn you, prepare you for this game. So, yeah, it's been 2 hours, and I'm already out of time in the night, so I won't be playing Mega Man X tonight. I wanted to play at 0 this time, but I'll play it another time. Anyways, this has been the review of again, this is my opinions. I know some of you will disagree, some of you will agree at some things and disagree at some others, some of you, but please, don't be mad at me, right? This is just my own opinions that I bring forward into you, so you get to decide if you want to trust me on this, or if you agree on some points, or if you disagree on some points. Then keep it to you. I'm just giving you my opinion, so you can do whatever you want with my opinions. You don't have to start hating what I just said, or disliking the video, or getting into fights with other commenters, even though I don't have a lot of fans in my channel right now. But keep in mind that, you know, don't fight over everything I said, or, you know, don't be insulted by anything. This is just my point of view. So you can take it, or you can leave it, or you can modify it however you want here and there, but please, don't be a bad sport, okay? So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to release this video very soon on my channel. Of course, when I release this video on my channel, I am still not done with releasing all of my episodes of Elden Ring. So, if you want more videos of Elden Ring, be patient. Please be patient. So, yeah. Well, this has been my Elden Ring review. I liked the game, and I hated the game at the same time at the very end of it, but it is still a very good game. Amazing game with a whole lot of content in it. It is very much worth $60 for it. You will get all your money's worth if you get this game. So, thank you everybody so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you on the next one.